My name is Summers Randolph. I am a stone sculptor. I have been carving stone since 1972, and I've been refining my own vocabulary of forms for 40 years. Marshall Gallery is my home in Scottsdale, and I'm excited to be part of it. We are now partnering on the front windows, and I'm pretty jazzed to be up there. It's great exposure. There's a particular woven triple piece that I have been carving since 1977, and I saw it in a line drawing in a philosophy periodical. And I looked at the line drawing and I thought, I can carve that. And I've done it ever since. Fell in love with that shape. There are two of them here. I can honestly tell you that I am a master stone carver. I don't have any problem with that statement because I know how to carve virtually any kind of stone, and they are all different. I love the idea that when you take a stone piece home, it is your piece and you're the only one that has it. Stone has an inherent value in its uniqueness. So it is the only piece that will ever look like that. The one of a kind, the only nature of stone is pretty special. I'm carving something that's gonna last, if it's cared for, longer than anybody we know, longer than any building that's been built. If people care for it, it's gonna go down through the generations way past my name, especially granite pieces. When I carve in granite, it's something that will outlast everything we know. I'll tell you a story about my grandmother, who was at the time 74 years old. Other than her own art interest, she had no way to relate to abstract forms. And I gave her a sculpture, and it was just a simple curve like this, and then a curve down like that. It had echoes of anthropomorphic form, but it was just a smooth shape. So my grandmother calls me up 6 or 8 months after she's had this piece, and she's chatting on long distance. Now, this was a lady who could hang up the phone faster than anybody she would hang up in the middle of a sentence. You'd be saying goodbye and she'd click, because long distance in her day was A, very expensive, and B, usually a tragedy. She called me up and she was, oh, this and this and this and this and this. And it was so different that I called her on it. And I said, Ganny, you are chatting on long distance. What is up? She had called me to confess. She says, Summers, it is the strangest thing. I have a relationship with that piece of sculpture. It's one of my top 10 compliments of my life, that she recognized that she and the stone had something going on. You know, it was because it was completely out of left field for her. And she ended up building a mirrored niche and looking at it in the morning and looking at it in the evening and turning it and doing all her things. That there was a great compliment that she figured out that she could have a relationship with a piece of stone. Challenge is you want to get to your shape fast. And if this stone, which has been creating itself for X number of millions and billions of years, decides it doesn't want to be what I wanted to make it, it breaks. You go bink, 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 bap, and you go, I broke it. And sometimes it'll take 10, 12, 15 years for a piece to turn from a tragedy back into just a piece of stone. You get a big, beautiful piece of stone and it breaks. I just set it there and let it sit. And one day I will walk by it and it will no longer be, oh, I wish that was And instead it'll be, oh, look, there's room for this. And then I pick it up and make something else with it. One of the quandaries that I like to explore when I'm carving is, what's the value of the hand of the artist? I'm actually experimenting now with some of the laser capture of form. And so even if I whittle it in porcelain or if I take a big piece in stone, there are companies that can take a picture of it with a laser and hand me a disc, mail it to China, and they'll blow it up so they can see it, and they'll carve a piece of granite into that shape and polish it and crate it and deliver it to my front door for less than the comparable block would cost me in Texas. So really, what's the value of me having spent 40 years learning how to carve stone? People will argue both sides of that. There's no value at all, the object stands, it is what it is. Or they'll say, no, 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 if you touched it, if you carved it, if the artist made it. Now, Warhol didn't touch anything. Jeff Koons doesn't touch anything. Damien Hirst doesn't touch anything. And those are big names in money and income and marketing and all of that. So there may be something to be said about taking a laser picture and casting a bronze from it. I had good success with my little shapes in jewelry, and we were casting silver and gold, and they were the shapes, and they were my shapes, and people bought the jewelry. So that's an argument for that. I just love one of a kind. I love the idea that when you take a stone piece home, it is your piece and you're the only one that has it. Now, I wish everybody that had a sculpture would also invite all their friends over and say, you need one of these. Form transcends scale. So I can take a little piece of soapstone and make a shape that I love just as much as an 11-foot granite or a 6-foot marble piece. The exploration of the form within the block is just as fascinating on a 2-inch scale as it is on a big scale. I can have a successful sculpture that's 1 inch, 2 inches tall. It doesn't mean I'm gonna turn around and make that piece large. The vocabulary is the same, but what I'm learning is the rhythm and the pattern between the curves and how things interact, how the inside interacts with the outside. And I rarely take the little pieces that I whittle and transform them into big pieces. They're just extra explorations of shapes. Why they would buy my piece? That's a good question. I love them. I've put 40 years into learning how to do them. I would love to think, and I used to absolutely believe, that if you make a better mousetrap, they will beat a path to your door. I'm now 63 and I don't believe that anymore. I think I've got to open the door and shout out of the front door to have people know. But I'm blessed to be in some really important collections and some few museums. I've shown my sculpture up at the Denver Contemporary Museum. I've shown my sculpture at the Nasher Museum down in Dallas. Again, I guess it comes back to that hand of the artist. If people like you, that helps. But the reason people collect is specific to the person. I have been blessed by some celebrities. I'm really complimented. Nicole Kidman is one of the genius. She and Lisa Kudrow and Steve Martin, there's a series of them that all have IQs over 150. I mean, they're just whip smart people. And I got calls for a year from these people asking about sculpture and asking this and that. And I finally said, how do I get back to you? What's the deal? And they said, Blossom Films. And it turned out it was her. And she apparently found me somewhere and was researching. And when she went into the gallery in Nashville, she knew exactly what she wanted. She knew which piece it was. She brought her husband, Keith Urban, with her, and they walked straight to the piece. And the gallerist told me later, well, I tried to get him to look at everything else, but she just said, I want that, and that was it. So I'm tickled. I'm apparently in their front hallway. I didn't get to deliver it or meet her, but I look forward to that one day. I did a series of Maine beach stones for my 5th grade teacher, Posey Barlow, and her partner was having her 80th birthday, and I did the place markers. Posey gave one to each person, and they were the Maine beach stones. And as I worked with the Maine beach stone, one of the things I did was hollow it out and then scoop it as well. So the outside shape of the stone had a hole right through the middle, and then it was scooped all the way around. That shape led to these avocado pieces out here that are carved out on the inside, because it became neat to think about the fact that the smaller the rock is on the beach, the older it is. So the real old, the granddaddies of the rocks on the beach are the little bitty ones, because they've been tumbled and tumbled and tumbled and tumbled down. And working with the inside shape of the form was a whole different exploration for me. Rather than pushing it in from the outside, I was opening it up from the inside.